You're listening to The Brand Cure. I'm your host, Ashley Chiney, and I'm here to help you embrace your vision, tell your story, and build your one-of-a-kind brand so you can thrive by being you and leave your mark on the world. I am so excited about this episode because it's the very first episode of The Brand Cure. So what I want to do with this podcast is really explore the ins and outs of building a brand that matters to people and that serves your goals for your life or your career or your business. So if you're here with me, if you're growing your business or building your career and you're looking for that extra edge on the market, that secret ingredient that's really going to set you apart, you are in the right place, my friend. And whether you're building a personal brand or you have a small online business, I think this is going to be really valuable stuff for you. So I thought for this very first episode, I would tackle the question, what is a brand? And if you're here listening to this podcast, branding and building a brand, those are probably not totally unfamiliar concepts to you. You probably have some idea of what a brand is and what branding is all about. A lot of us first encounter the idea of what a brand is through the visual side, really clever logos, really beautiful colors, attractive visual branding, and a visual aesthetic that draws us in. And that makes sense because that's kind of the part of a brand that you can see at the very first glance. But branding goes deeper than that, deeper than just the visual representations of a brand. Here's how I normally define a brand in super simple terms. Your brand is what you mean to people. It's how they feel and think about you or your business. And like I said before, it's about more than just the visuals. Those are kind of the symbols and the icons for your brand, but what's underneath the surface? What do those symbols represent? If you think about someone maybe in your industry or just someone in your orbit, someone you admire, maybe it's someone that you look up to who is a leader in your field, or maybe it's someone that you have learned a lot from or even bought from or hired in the past. Or maybe it's just someone who has really influenced you and your journey building your business or your career. How would you describe what that person is doing in the world? Would you talk mainly about the way that their visual branding looks? Would you talk about their logo and the colors that they chose in their color palette? Would you talk about the patterns and the textures that you find on their website or on their print collateral? Would you talk about what that person looks like, or would you talk about what they mean to you, what they stand for, what their mission and their purpose is, what they talk about, what they have to say, and how they have impacted you? More than likely, those are the things that you would talk about when describing a person or an influencer or a brand that you really admire and that has impacted you in some kind of meaningful way. Your brand is the way people perceive you. It's how you make them feel. It's what you mean to them, what you stand for. And it's what's underneath the hood of your business, the heart and the soul of your business or your career as a professional, that people can sense and feel and that is memorable and that draws them into your world. Think about Apple, for example. Apple would still be Apple if it had a different logo, right? It would still stand for thinking differently and being creative and getting outside the norms of what's expected. Apple would still stand for those things, even if the logo was, a banana or something. Because the real power of your brand is about what's on the inside, what you're here to say, and what you believe in. So that's really what you want for your brand. You want your brand to mean something to people and matter to people and have something to say that resonates with them. And so here's another key point. Your brand exists in people's minds. Your brand is not something that can be uploaded or downloaded or copied or pasted. It's not something you carry around in your backpack or your purse or on your hard drive. Your brand exists in people's minds. In other words, it's about the way that you show up in the world and the signals that you're sending to people about who you are. That is your brand. And it builds up in people's minds based on the impressions that you leave and the experiences that you deliver. Think about how you build a reputation, right? You build a reputation by making an impact on people, leaving impressions, showing them who you are through what you do and how you do it, and what you say and how you say it, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, the culture that you're building, the way that you show up is going to amount to the brand that you build. So why are we even focused on building a brand? Why does it matter at a strategic level? Why does it matter at a practical level? I'll give you two main reasons. The first reason is that from a business and marketing perspective, your brand gives you an edge. Because the job of your brand is to increase the perceived value that you're offering by delivering emotional benefits beyond just the product itself. So when Chris, my husband, and I were looking for a wedding photographer, we looked at a ton of wedding photographers' portfolios in the Boulder area. And we found that there were so many talented, really skillful photographers who had beautiful styles that we really loved. And it was really hard to decide. And so what we started really looking for was, who do we really feel like we would connect with? Who really delivers an experience that feels right to us, that feels like we would get along with these people or this person, and it would be a positive emotional experience. We chose a husband and wife team wedding photography couple who delivered an experience of fun and adventure, and their website did a really great job of personalizing them and letting people into their world. And that created an emotional experience for us. They got our business and we paid a premium for them because that emotional value was really deep down what we were looking for. And that's really what we're all looking for, right? Even if you buy a product that has a really great functional value, you're still, at the end of the day, buying what you think that's going to do for you and your life emotionally. If you're investing in a business coach, yes, you see the functional outcome of that business coach as being, a better business and you as a better business owner. But why do you even care about those things? Because they give you some kind of emotional value, because it's going to be fulfilling to you to have a more successful business. If you go out and buy an Apple Watch, that is obviously going to have a lot of functional benefits for you and your life and your daily productivity. But why do those things matter at all? Because they improve the emotional quality of life that you have as a person. And so we are all deep down buying emotional value because we all want to be happy, safe, loved, fulfilled. We all want to feel good about who we are as people. We all want to feel like we have a positive standing and a positive reputation among our peers. We all want to feel like we are becoming better versions of ourselves. And let me be clear that I'm not advising you to make up an emotional value that isn't there. What I'm encouraging you to do is, when you dig deep and you look for what you really have to offer, pay attention to the unique emotional value that you can offer the world. And we'll get a little bit more into how to really provide the emotional value that your ideal client, your target market are looking for. But for now, just know that it's not about being cynical. It's not about manufacturing or creating a facade of emotional value. It's kind of like if you have magic powers, you can use them for good or for evil. You can be Harry Potter or he who shall not be named. And what I'm talking about here is using branding and marketing yourself strategically for good by reaching in and finding out what you have to offer the world and just bringing it out so that other people can see it and can benefit from it. Debbie Millman, one of my personal heroes in the branding world, says that branding is not about inventing some kind of facade or a shiny exterior to trick people. It's about digging deep, finding what you really have inside, and then bringing it out and shaping it into something that can help people. And if you've ever bought, let's say, a self-help book, or if you've ever invested in a dating website, or if you have ever gone on a spiritual retreat or participated in some kind of event with your friends, gone out to dinner with your friends, then you know that you are willing to pay money for emotional value. And that's really, at the heart of it, what branding is kind of about. It's about taking that intangible quality that you have deep down that nobody else can replicate, because it's your vision, it's your purpose, it's the way you look at the world, and packaging that up in a way that allows you to attach it to your product or service or who you are as a professional or a business, and let that influence the person who's making a decision about who to buy from or who to hire. So in addition to getting that, let's say the wedding photography package, we were also getting emotional value. And so we were willing to pay more for that experience. So that is basically how your brand increases the perceived value of your product or service. Okay, so remember I said there are two main ways that your brand is important. The second way comes down to how your brand shapes your future. I know that sounds kind of intense, but it's definitely true. If you think about the way that a ship has a rudder, imagine that you have a big ship and you can go anywhere in the world with it. You could go to the Maldives, you could go to South America, you could go to Australia. It's got to be a pretty big ship, right? Like it's got to be a cruise liner to get to all those places, but you can go anywhere in the world with your ship. But you're not going to get there unless you have control over the rudder of your ship. If you need to be able to turn the wheel and tell the ship go in that direction, right? And the same is true for your brand. Your brand is like the rudder of your business. You can build any business or any career that you want, but if you're not paying attention to the brand that you're building, it's going to be really hard to get there because your brand determines the people that you attract, the opportunities that you get, whether and how people interact with you and engage with you and buy from you. Think about it like your reputation at work. If you have a reputation for being a really great team member, then you're likely to get invited to participate on some really interesting team projects, and you'll have your pick of which teams you want to be on because people think of you as being a great team member. Or let's make this personal. If you have a reputation among your friends for being, let's say, really easy to talk to and really understanding, your friends are going to come to you when they need someone to talk to who's going to be understanding and easy to talk to, right? Those are the opportunities you are attracting. That's what you're putting out in the world, and that is what's coming back to you. So as you're cultivating your brand and thinking about the long-term outcome that you want for your career or your business or your life, honestly, you want to think about who you want to serve and why you want to serve those people. What kind of person you are. We all engage with businesses that we feel are aligned with our vision and values. So in the long run, the signals and the energy that you're putting out in the world are going to shape the opportunities that come your way, the people who become your fans and your loyal followers, and the kinds of opportunities that are attracted to you. And it's kind of like how you have evolved as a person. What you put out in the world, the energy that you put out, and what you project about yourself into the world determines what kinds of opportunities come your way, what kinds of people are attracted to you. It's a cycle, right? Those things influence the kind of person that you become. And so the cycle continues. And so that brings me to one more point. Your brand evolves over time, just like you. Your brand is iterative. You are not a static person. You do not stay the same forever. So this doesn't happen overnight. You don't build a brand and then plunk it down into the market and then it's just static and permanent and that's the way it is forever. The business or the career that you're building right now is going to look totally different a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's going to evolve over time. And yes, there is deep down within you a permanence to who you are. You are going to always be essentially the same person. You're going to have the same kinds of values and the same kinds of things that you care about and your same vision for what is important and what you want to create for your life and for the world, what kind of impact you would like to make. But along the way, things change, right? The way you think about yourself evolves. You change interest, you change jobs, you change relationships, but deep down, there is a permanence to it. There's always that common thread throughout. And the trick of really, really good branding is to get down beneath the surface. Think of it like, the ocean. You have levels of the ocean. You've got kind of the surface level stuff going on. You've got the waves up at the top, and that just is constantly changing. Then you have one level beneath that, you have kind of different kinds of fish and they're swimming around, and that's always changing too. And then as you get deeper and deeper, there is more and more permanence. And so really getting to the heart of what you believe in, no matter what kind of person you are, and what you want to create for your life and for the world, that's really where the deep down magic happens of your brand. And yes, it's going to evolve slowly over time, but there is a permanence to it. So to bring us all the way back home and recap what we've covered here, your brand is what you mean to people. And your brand exists in people's minds. It's the reputation you're building by making impressions and by showing up in a certain way in the world. And your brand gives you an edge as you develop the brand that you want, as you show people how you're different, how you're unique, how you're special, and what you are here to stand for. That gives you an edge because you're delivering added value on top of your product or service. And that brand that you're building shapes your business. It shapes who's attracted to you, what kinds of opportunities come into your orbit. And it evolves over time. Your brand is not static. It's not going to be the same forever. So I always encourage people when they're figuring out their brand that it's not like deciding right now, this is who I'm going to be forever. It's about deciding this is what I want to become. This is who I am. This is what I care about, and starting from there. And over time, it's going to evolve, and that is okay. I'm going to wrap it up here, but I promise you, if you are feeling a little overwhelmed about all this, please don't worry. Yes, it does take some self-reflection, some getting honest with yourself about what you believe in and what you want to create. And that's where all the really good stuff happens. It happens as you find clarity about yourself, clarity about your audience, which we'll dive into in another episode, and clarity about what you want to build. And in the Brand Cure, that's what we're going to do. We're going to explore all those things and much, much more. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. We are brand new here on the interwebs, and your review would mean the world to me and also help others find the show. And if you think you might want to listen again, be sure to subscribe so that new episodes show up in your episodes queue. Thank you so much for listening to The Brand Cure. This is Ashley Chimey reminding you that you have something awesome and special to share with the rest of us, and the world is waiting for it. Don't forget to be awesome. Talk to you next time.